Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast Conversations and Connections. I'm your host, Sandy McGregor, and I am so excited that you're here with us today. I am starting off the new year with a bang. We have an incredible story today. I have a new friend, Rebekah Ronald, that is here today to share her story about her adoption and the goodness of God in her life from a very, very young age, which could have been a really, really bleak, tough scenario. God turned it around, and she is here today to talk about how God moved mightily in her adoptive parents to find her in Romania. And I'm not sure if you remember about the days back in the 90s, but Rebekah's going to give us a bit of insight information into what was going on at that time and what happened to bring her parents to kind of this awareness of what was going on with different orphans in Romania. So, Rebekah, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to hearing your story just shared. And I know that it's a big deal to share your story. And I know that it's a hard thing, but we have to do hard things. God calls us to do these hard things because He knows it's going to be a blessing to somebody else. And so my prayer is that as you talk, the Lord would just lead you and guide you so that it would be an expression of what God really wants from His heart. Because truly, He wants to have all of us as a part of the family of God and adopt every single one of us into His family because He loves us so much. And that's what I think I love about adoption so much, is that it just reflects the heart of God. And that's really what your story is all about. It really reflects the heart of God. So yeah, so let's get into it a little bit. So let me have you share about you and where you are and what you're doing.
Well, my name's Rebekah, and I'm a mom of three beautiful kids. I am married to my husband, David, and we have three kids named Elijah, Trinity, and Valerie, and they are 8, 6, and 4. And currently in our lives, we are currently homeschooler family as well.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I understand that part because I did homeschool for a very, very long time as well. And it was such a privilege and such a blessing. Didn't mean it was easy, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's worth it though. It is so worth it. So you're in a beautiful stage of life where you have the young ones at home and you get to walk with them every day. So what a gift.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
thankful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I know that I just talked about how adoption unfolded in your life, but I think it would be really neat to hear from you how, if you could just share specifically how the journey started. So maybe take us back to your early years and what was going on at that time, and then maybe share a little bit about how your parents heard about almost like this crisis of orphans. So maybe you can share and go back a little bit into your early years.
Absolutely. So I like to always start off that this is God's story because this is a story that you can't make up.
No.
And it's definitely led by Him. So I give all the glory to the Lord to start off with because it took a lot of discerning, it took a lot of wisdom and
Mm.
obedience to my parents to go and adopt. So
Mhm. Mhm.
that's the first thing. I was born in 1988, and during that time, Romania had over 40 years of hardship, and that was in 1989. And during that hardship, there was very little electricity, there was very little food, and storage of really everything. It
Mm.
was during the communist in 1989. And um, yeah, during that time, families had families, and all of a sudden, orphanage started to overflow with these kids that families couldn't provide for at all. So that's kind of the brief history of Romania in the 1989.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so I like to start off with Ephesians 1 4 to 5. He's chosen us in before the foundation of the world. And he has chosen every single person that may be listening um, before the foundation of the world. And this is the beginning of God's testimony and my testimony.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah. Um, in 1990, the world began to see what was happening in Romania through a documentary called A Shame of the Nation, which was during the war in 1992. Um, so people around the world found out about this show, and my parents were one of many families that felt called to go and adopt in Romania. And the show is based on all these orphanages in Romania, and they were just explaining to everyone, like, what do we do with these
Mhm.
orphans, basically.
Mhm.
And so long and the short, they started a show called A Shame of the Nation, and that's where my family felt led to go and adopt.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
at that time, um, my parents had three sons of their own, and they had a family meeting, and they just felt led to say, "Hey guys, like we feel led to go and adopt two girls from Romania. Um, let's get this ball rolling and let's pray over it."
Right.
So after having conversations with my like the three boys, they felt led and they went to their church. They went to church called Chartwell Baptist Church at the time,
Mhm.
and they confronted the church and say, "Hey, there, this is what's laying on our hearts.
Mhm.
This is why we feel led to go and adopt. Can you guys prayerfully pray for us leading up to
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
big decision as we welcome children into new children into our
Right.
family that
Right.
we want to grow, right?"
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah. So God led them to a translator, and when they felt that this translator was a good fit to them,
Mhm.
they went with the translator and went to Romania.
So did this translator, was that something that you were able to find before or they found before, or was it somebody that they connected with when they landed?
They did a lot of researches, and so they were able to find this
Mm.
translator before going to Romania.
That's amazing. I missed that part of the story because when you were sharing your story in our first phone call, I missed that disconnect. That is a really cool thing. I didn't realize that because I thought that they actually went and they met somebody there and kind of had to get the ball rolling there. But I didn't realize that. What a neat opportunity for your parents. That's great.
Yeah, this is what I mean. You can't you can't make this up. It's
No,
definitely God
no,
led, right?
absolutely not. You're the whole story that we talked about. It was just, I really just didn't even know what to say. It's just like, okay, and this happened, and then this happened. I'm like, that's only God. Like again, a moment. It's only God. It's almost like he was just affirming to your parents, saying, "Yes, you're on the right track. I've got you, and you haven't even left Canadian soil yet." So I'm glad you shared that part.
Right?
Thanks.
Absolutely. So when it came to my parents going to Romania, the translator knew everything what was going on. He knew where to go. He knew where not to go.
Mm,
And so when they arrived in Romania and they got settled, the translator took my parents to various orphanages.
mhm,
And their goal was to take the families that felt led to adopt to the inner cities in Romania. So my inner city was called Arad, and there was a few orphanages within that city.
mhm,
But they neglected the orphanage in the suburbs outside of the city because they knew that the orphanages in the suburbs were more like neglected,
mhm,
not to part of what
mhm,
they are looking for. And majority of them, they basically separated the kids that had physical, intellectual needs
mhm,
and moved them to the suburbs. And
mhm.
then the kids that were normal, they kept them in the cities during that time.
So that's where
So
people, as soon as you landed, that's where people would go. They would go to the inner city, and not in the suburbs. They probably didn't even talk about the suburbs existing, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because they felt ashamed of the quality of
Right.
orphanages and the care and
Right.
everything.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, and yeah, with all that said, my parents um kept going, and the Lord just kept guiding them. So imagine a dirt road, and one side is going towards the city, and then the other side is going to the suburbs.
Hmm.
And this is another God given gift that you can't make up.
Hmm.
And my parents were in this really tiny little car. You were really squishy. It was European, it was in the 80s,
Hmm.
very uncomfortable car. And my dad felt led to go the opposite way of the city. And he just had that nudge like, no,
Hmm.
you need to go this way, not
Hmm.
towards the city.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, the car stopped. So, who, why did the car stop? Because God was making it clear on where my parents should go.
Right.
Um, and the translator was so appalled and so embarrassed. Oh, let me fix this and that.
Hmm.
But we'll get to the city. Don't worry, don't worry.
Hmm.
So my dad is very tall man. He's very assertive. And he's like, nope, we need to go this way because I'm feeling called to go the opposite way we need to go right now.
Yep.
So with that said, the car started working when my parents
That's
were like,
amazing.
yep, it's time to go the
Yeah.
opposite way.
Isn't that God though, when he shows up and he's saying, no, go the opposite way? It's so like that's what our whole faith is. It's a countercultural faith. So the poor translator is probably like, no, you need to listen to me. I
Yeah.
know it's better. And then your dad and your mom are like, no, God knows. And what a testimony to their faith. Not only just for me now, but for the listeners and for you, hearing the story, later on in your life. It's beautiful.
Yes. So when my parents were obedient with what God was telling them to do, the car started working. And they ended up going away from the city to a place in the middle of nowhere. So imagine a hill with a two-story building, black garbage bags on the windows, and a garbage dump next to it. This was one of many orphanages that were. Um, this was one of many orphanages that was neglected, and if you look at your first glance, that means there's no kids in there. But lo and behold, there's quite a few of us in there.
Mhm.
And um, what back then they would always make sure the kids every day they always made sure that the kids were properly cleaned and groomed, kind of, um, and was just doing their everyday routine. And so my parents walked in. There was quite a few kids in cribs, and they were doing this thing called the Romanian rock. So they would
Mhm.
rock themselves back and forth. So it was a soothing mechanism that kids and babies would
Right.
do. And I was one of them that was doing it from like newborn till even age 7.
Wow.
Even coming back to Canada, I would constantly just do this because
Right.
it was our coping mechanism.
Right. Right.
The
And it was a
caregivers
learned
in the orphanage,
behavior, right? Like that's something that you
yeah,
couldn't just change getting off an airplane, landing in Canada. That was something that was a part of you. How old were you when when your mom and dad did first walk into the orphanage at that stage?
I was
Okay.
3 years old.
Okay.
Um, and I was a very sick looking babe. Um, my hair it was chestnut dark brown, and it had a big blotch of red hair coming in
Mm.
because of malnutrition. So there was a big blotch of hair that
Mhm.
was all red, and the rest was all brown. My eyes were permanently cross-eyed inwards,
Mhm.
and my belly was completely bloated due to malnutrition as well.
Mhm.
And when I walked like a duck, beat out the whole 9 yards.
Just the whole
Communication
thing.
was not there.
Wow.
Yeah. I was a very sick looking child. Um, I was not cognitively there.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't able to speak. Basically, being in an orphanage from day one to first 3 years of your life, you're
Right,
just like and neglected in so many
right.
areas.
Well, no one's caring for you. I mean, you're in this place,
Yeah,
but there's so many of you that were even in this
yeah,
orphanage, let alone all of the other ones, that they couldn't give you that one-on-one care. I mean, they were basically keeping you alive, right?
yeah. That's about it. That was their duty and that was their job.
Mm,
And if people were to donate toys or blankets or any accessories that they
mhm.
needed for the orphanages, the caregivers would take them home for their own
For
families.
their families, right?
So
Mm,
when it came to all those supplies coming in for donations, it didn't directly go to the
no.
orphanages. It directly went to the caregivers' families.
So
So
heart-wrenching.
yeah, it gives me the chills just thinking about it years
Mhm,
later because I'm
mhm.
like, oh, my heart is heavy, right?
Yes, it is. It's a heavy story. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my dad being very tall, he just kind of looked over the children and he saw me. My original name was Valeria, and he's like, "We are here for this one." And that
Wow.
was me. And God just made it very clear that it was time.
Wow.
And so, once God made it very clear that He was here to pick up uh, little Valeria, um, the ball started to roll. And
Mm,
that's when they're like, okay, we are here for this little one.
mhm,
What do we do next? And so the caregivers explained to them that you need to go through court. You need to go back to the township of where her original family is,
mhm.
which is a small town called Falmouth outside of Rad,
Okay.
and ask for permission, even though it was written that consent that she's okay to be adopted. You still had to
Right.
physically go there.
Wow.
Um, so my parents had all the things they needed, and the more money you had, the more info you got,
Mm,
and the quicker the process would have been. Oh, you give us this much, we give you a court date the next day, kind of
wow.
feeling. Um, so
Like
that
corruption
was just,
at every level, right? It's like, yeah,
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 yeah, it's like you give me this, we give you the answers.
right,
We give you where to go, we
right.
give you everything you need.
Yeah.
Um, so long with days, I would say less than a week later, they were on an airplane and
Wow.
brought me and me back to Canada,
Wow.
which is wild.
That is wild. So did they actually meet some of your family members to get that official permission, or was it through, kind of like more paperwork procedure? Like what did that part look like?
So when they were asked to go to the village outside of Arad, they did meet some family. They met my real mother at the time and my grandmother
Okay.
and her sister.
Okay.
And so keep that in mind though. And so yes, they did meet my immediate family first
Hmm.
before going back to the orphanage to bring me home.
Okay.
And so, yeah, my parents did meet immediate family before bringing me back home to Canada for
Wow.
their consent as
Right. Okay.
well.
Wow.
So fast forward 2011, after coming home from Romania, my parents got a letter a few weeks me being in Canada, and they said, "Hey, by the way, all the children that was in Valeria's orphanage all passed away,
Wow.
and
That's
due to
unbelievable.
a virus, and that's just it breaks my heart,
Hmm.
but it just shows that God has saved me yet again by
Yes.
His grace
Yeah.
and with the obedience of my parents
Yeah.
uh, being
Yeah.
led by my
Yeah.
by the Lord
You know
to
what? It's
kept going, right?
amazing because when you think about that tiny little tap on the shoulder, how many times we've all kind of ignored that nudge, just saying, nah, that can't possibly be true. No, no, I'm not doing that, Lord. You're not asking me to do that. I'm just going to ignore it. But I just think about like that first tiny nudge and how that led to the next thing and the next thing, and how important it is for us to be really just truly in the presence of God on a daily basis. So we're understanding that that tap is not accidental. The Holy Spirit is not accidentally speaking to us and helping us because he's called the helper. He's helping us. He was helping your parents to
Mhm.
get into this path and the direction to redeem, to rescue, and to provide hope for you. And it's just such a
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful reminder of that nudge in our life and to listen to what God is saying. So amazing.
Absolutely. And also not to ignore it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
you can't you can't ignore God's will to
Yeah.
his will be done, right? You
Yeah.
can't ignore that.
Yeah.
And God will make it evident and he will
Mm,
make it very clear that
mhm,
his will be done.
mhm,
And if we follow his will, it will be glorifying and honoring to him in the end,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm forever for that. Just um, just having that happen.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and yeah, so in 2011, I was able to go work for a camp called Muskoka Woods.
mhm. I know
And
that well.
um, yeah, right.
So funny all
And
the
as the
connections we
Lord,
have with Chartwell and Muskoka Woods, and it's just I love how God brought us together. I just had to say that because it's just so neat how our lives intersected in ways that we didn't even know were happening at the time, and now we know all these years later,
absolutely,
right?
right? Absolutely. Like
Yeah,
it's literally a full circle,
yeah.
basically.
So true.
Um,
Yeah. So you went to
every
camp. So you're at Muskoka Woods.
Yes. So I worked at Muskoka Woods for a full year. And during that time, God has um, used people to make me realize, like, hey, by the way, we do missions trip to Romania. I'm like, oh,
You're like,
really?
really?
Okay. Tell me more about it.
Yeah.
Um, and they're like, well, we want to hear your story because we hear that you are from Romania. And so it was a pleasure to share my testimony about being adopted in
Mhm,
Romania.
mhm,
And that's what happened. And so they're like, would you be able to join us for 2 weeks of missions in Romania? And I'm
amazing.
like, honestly, I would love to.
Yeah,
It will be an experience that I can't turn down.
right.
It will be a very different experience
Mhm,
from the rest of the team.
mhm,
And so I took that. God had blessed us in so many ways. And he led me to Romania for 2 weeks doing missions. So we worked in orphanages.
mhm,
We worked in like with the elderly,
mhm,
and we worked with children with disabilities as well.
mhm, mhm.
So it's interesting how during that time, all of that kind of intertwined with me being in the orphanage,
Right,
physically,
right.
intellectually disabilities, and working with people
Mhm, mhm,
and kids and teens and hearing their testimonies for 2 weeks.
right, right.
Um, so, with having said that, we're like, hey, can we is it okay if my dad can meet us at the end of the trip in Budapest to stay with me and bring me back to my roots?
Wow,
Um, so God's like opening doors to where my immediate family was in Romania. And
incredible.
he opened the doors for me to be able to go and meet my immediate family for the very first
Incredible.
time in
So you
2011.
finished your 2 weeks, um, serving, and then that's when you met your dad. And how much longer did you stay in the area and to be able to connect with your family and your roots?
I stayed an extra week.
Okay.
So I was in Romania for 3 weeks, not just two with the
Okay.
Canadian team.
Wow.
So yeah, I
So
stayed an
share
extra
this
week
really
and
cool part. This is just so exciting. Like I can't believe how it all came together. But again, it's such a God story. So how did you then with your dad get to this next part of your journey?
so as the Canadian team was going, I was with my dad. We traveled from Budapest back to Arad. And then from Arad, we went to the small township in Felnak.
Mhm.
And we had everything, the information, the address, everything we needed. That's God blessed us in so many ways to get
Mm,
that
mm,
access. And I got to meet my full sister. My real mom and dad had 5 kids, and out of the five, she put two up for adoption. And I got to meet a full sister, a brother, niece and nephew, aunt and uncle, and
wow.
my grandma.
Wow.
So, right? So
So
my
beautiful.
grandma, my grandma was the one that my dad, like when he went to adopt me, that's the same lady that he met in when he
Oh,
went to
okay.
go and
Right.
adopt
Mhm.
me.
Okay.
So as soon as grandma recognized that my dad was there, because he's a very tall man, it's hard to miss him. She knew immediately, like, oh my goodness, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I was behind him and I kind of peeked my head
Yeah.
and grandma, she was probably in her 80s at this
Mhm.
point in
Okay.
2011.
Right.
She knew exactly who I was. She's
Mhm.
like, Valeria, Valeria. And she
Wow.
knew that I was little Valeria that was being put up for adoption.
All those years later, she
Um,
knew. Mhm.
Absolutely. So I got the true European welcome. She had no teeth, lots of kisses, lots of hugs, lots of like, it's you.
Yeah.
So true European welcome from
That's so
grandma
great.
and
Yeah.
the rest of my family. And but my biggest thing that God really orchestrated yet again is being able to meet my dad as
I
well.
know. So amazing. Share this part.
Um, so back to a dirt road in a small town in Fell Neck. Um, my cousin, she was really good with English. So
Mhm.
she was kind of like my translator for the week.
Perfect.
And her and I went to the original house where my parents went to go
Mhm.
confirm the adoption.
Mhm.
And it was dark. And imagine just a little light post and a dirt road and knock on the door. And a few minutes later, my dad showed up
Wow.
and he's like, what, what, what do you need? What are you here for?
Right.
And so my cousin's like, we have Valeria. He's
He's
like,
like, hold on a second. What?
yeah, shocked out of his mind. He's like, Valeria? And lo and behold, I was standing there under a light post with my dad,
Wow.
um, on a dirt road in a small town in Felnak.
Right. Right.
And because it was nighttime, he wasn't really put together.
Mhm.
So he's like, okay, please come back tomorrow morning and sit with me for a water,
Yeah.
basically. That's all he had. So I walked the very next morning.
Mhm.
We went to go and connect, and I got a tour of the inside of the home.
Mhm.
And it was like European original home.
Mhm.
And he showed me around. There's very little communication. He
Mhm.
just said, just wander and let Nicoletta take over and show you around and
Yeah.
so on. And I was very nervous, but I was
Yes.
very excited.
Yeah.
But also, I was very emotional
Of course.
during this time. And during that visit, just imagine an empty room
Mhm.
with a window and two chairs. That
Yeah.
was his living room.
Yeah.
And we just sat there holding hands and
Wow.
just sat there in quietness and just taking it all in.
Yeah.
Um, my
Wow.
heart's
Yes.
racing just
Yeah.
explaining this because it's so like you can't make this up again, right? It's
No.
all Jesus, right?
Yeah, it is.
So that
Your
was a
emotions,
big memory.
it just must have been like just from the missions trip to then
Yes.
meeting your family and then to meeting your dad, like absorbing all of these things. It must have been, well, I mean, you're still probably absorbing it. I don't know if you fully really ever do. I mean, these are moments that you carry with you forever. So, talk about how you sitting there with your dad and then the process of starting to come to terms with this biological family and then your new family in Canada. How are you managing those emotions? Because there could be people that are watching today that maybe they have a similar story where they did actually
Mhm.
meet their biological family and it's a lot. So how did you start to
Yes.
navigate that emotionally and all of those things?
Um, it was a lot, like being in Romania for 2 weeks doing missions in orphanages and then kind of like visioning me in their shoes, like,
Right.
oh my goodness, like we're working with kids from newborn to 16 years old.
Right.
And then it was a lot to
Mhm.
process.
Of course.
Um, I felt guilty at
Mm.
times. Why me? Why
Right.
why me and not everybody else feeling?
Yeah.
Even
Mhm.
to this day, I'm like, but why me?
Mhm.
But
I
God
understand that.
planned it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so that was a lot of like, but why me, God? Why?
Mm.
Why me and not the other kids? Why did these kids have to pass away weeks after I came to Canada?
Mm. Mhm.
But like God says, God uses the hardship for his glory.
Mm.
And
Yes.
I'm hoping and praying that this testimony can be used for his glory. Because
Absolutely.
yeah, the process of being adopted, being in Romania, then coming home back to Canada
Mhm.
with just a blessed life with healthy family,
Mhm.
healthy dynamic, everything.
Mhm.
Um, and coming back to my comfort zone,
Mhm.
um, he's going to use that for his glory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll never forget with my first son when he was born. That was also impact because it impacts you as like a young kid, a teenager, an adulthood, and so on. But when you start having kids of your own,
Right.
I told my husband, I'm like, honey, like Elijah's crying and he's only days old.
Yeah.
Imagine me not going to him
Yeah.
and him just crying it out like days later
Right.
after being born.
Yeah.
And during that moment, it really hit me because
Mhm.
I was envisioning, I was just, I'm getting
Yeah,
emotional.
I
I
know.
was
I'm trying to
envisioning,
like process this too.
yeah, I was envisioning me in the orphanage in a crib being neglected because of all that was going on in Romania. Um, and knowing that all I did was the Romanian rock. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
even to this day, years later,
Yeah.
um, I get choked up
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of
For
God's
sure.
grace.
Yeah. Yeah, but he did.
um,
He just knew and he met you. He met you there.
yeah, he
Yeah.
met me there. He met
Yeah.
me in the moment when I had my son and brought him home. He's met
Yeah.
me in every stages with each of my kids being born
Yeah.
and being so relational and so close to me during
Yeah.
those moments of like big milestones. And I just constantly think like, oh my goodness, like I wasn't physically touched. I wasn't
Mhm.
physically and emotionally there.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot to process, but it
Mhm.
still is to this day.
Yeah.
But I know that God will use this story for his good
Oh,
in the
yeah.
end.
He already is. He already is. And the fact that you have this unique perspective now as a mom to be able to just
Yes.
give and to pour into your kids in a way that you didn't know you were going to be able to do. And God knew that ahead of time. And He planned this for you on purpose to be able to pour out. your love into your kids, because motherhood is such a beautiful calling. It's not our highest calling, but it is a calling to serve and to pour out ourselves um, in the way that God has called us to. I mean, I know our highest calling is we are daughters of the King, and we are called to love Him, and because of that, because He fills us up, we can therefore pour out our love right into our kids. So you have this really unique perspective of how important it is to just be intentional about the
Mhm.
physical touch and the emotional, taking that into consideration. And it's something that you can pour into younger women that might be struggling as a young mom, trying to navigate that as well. So you really have such a beautiful opportunity to pour into the lives of others in ways that only God knows.
Absolutely. And my my heart goes to sorry, I have a little one
That's
beside
okay.
me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's okay. That's your stage. I love it.
yeah, right. Yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's just like I really hope God can continue to use me through the adoption story, but
Mm,
also as a young mom of three kids, but
yeah,
also having that hope that like your story doesn't stop after being adopted. Your story continues into
absolutely.
adoption, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love your heart and your willingness to be able to share it because it is so it's hard. It's heart-wrenching in so many ways too, right? It's a hard story, but you're allowing God to use it in really beautiful ways. Well, before we finish today, what would be your encouragement to somebody who perhaps is thinking about adoption, or fostering, or maybe they were adopted and they're trying to navigate and balance? What would you say to somebody today to encourage them in their stage?
don't ignore it. Don't ignore God's calling. Make sure your spouse is on the same page. That's
That's
a big
good.
one.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I've always known that I was adopted. I didn't know the full details of what
Mhm.
that meant.
Right.
But always let your kid know that they are loved, but also use that to honor God through it, where
That's good.
God brought mommy and daddy to go and adopt, whether it's this is this is God's story as well.
Right.
And he's going to use this one day. Um, but I've always known that I was adopted, so I
Mhm.
encourage others to let their families know
Yeah.
that they are adopted
That's good.
because finding out that you're adopted when you're 16
Mm,
is um, just a new can of
right.
emotions and
True.
just everything.
Yeah, that's
And
really good.
I don't recommend that.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, always explain that you are adopted,
Mm,
even though the child may not understand directly, but you could always explain to them that like
yeah.
you're my adopted loved one.
Hmm.
And God called me and brought me here to
That's
adopt you.
beautiful. That's beautiful. That's fantastic. It's so wise. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rebecca. That's amazing. Well, this has been absolutely a delight. I'm so thankful that you've been willing to bravely share your story. I can't wait for the world to hear it and to be blessed by it. So, thank you, Rebecca, for joining us today on the podcast. And I will pray blessings in your life. And I'm so excited for you and your homeschooling journey. And I'll continue to hopefully connect with you. Maybe we can actually meet in person because you're not too far away. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
would love that.
that would be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
sounds great.
awesome.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Oh, it's been a
Thank you.
pleasure. I feel like I'm the blessed one today. So thank you. So have a great rest of your
My
day and we'll
pleasure.
hopefully catch up soon. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.